China last week cracked down on cryptocurrencies. Now, everyone knows that China's been banning Bitcoin and crypto over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Shout out Marshawn Lynch again. Now, how do you know that this time they're serious? Well, in the past, when they have outlawed or banned it, they basically have made a rule, but not really enforced it. We know earlier this year, they took one step towards more enforcement, which was they essentially told all of the Bitcoin miners, hey, we're serious, get out of here. And so miners listened. They picked up, unplugged their machines, moved them somewhere else, and ended up plugging them back in. And so hash rate dropped significantly, over 50%. Now it's come roaring back, but miners left the country. And then on top of that, last week, they then said again, we're really serious about this. And people, I think this time said, whoa, what are they going to do? Well, we're now starting to see it. So first, we've got Frank Chaparro, amazing mustache. He is reporting that CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, two websites, are now blocked by the China's internet firewall. We then have David Bell, who says that the CCP has blocked TradingView in China as well. And so when you start to see what is going on in China, you can see that multiple websites, including CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, and TradingView, are all blocked in China, which means that the Chinese government is taking this so seriously that not only do they want you to not trade the assets, but they also don't want you to be able to see what those asset prices are or how they are moving. So trying to cut off the information to this industry. Pretty serious stuff. Now, as we know from in the past, every time that China has ever tried to ban a technology or ban a product, it's usually been a pretty good buy signal, right? With historically speaking. So Dan Moorhead over at Pantera came out and he tweeted this nice graphic here that said, if I knew nothing about the disruptive new technology other than that China was trying to ban it, I'm buying. And he shows here Twitter, they banned it in June of 2009. It's up over 5,000%. Facebook, they banned in July of 2009. That's up 14,000, almost 15,000%. Google, Snapchat, and Bitcoin all up considerably as well. Now, when we go back and we look all the way to the first time that China banned Bitcoin, we can see a significant increase in price. It's up over $40,000 since China first banned Bitcoin. And so this falls right in line with what Dan Moorhead there is talking about in terms of the actual Chinese ban being a buy signal rather than it being a sell signal. But on top of that, what we now have is if China's going to get serious about enforcing this stuff, they're going to kick miners out. They're actually going to outlaw transactions of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. They're going to start to block with the Chinese firewall things like TradingView or CoinMarketCap. Then it begs the question of what is going to be other countries' responses around the world. And what we found yesterday was a very interesting idea. Blake Masters, who many of you probably know as the co-author of Peter Thiel's book 0 to 1. He's also the COO Thiel Capital and also the president of the Thiel Foundation, came out and tweeted this. He said, China banned cryptocurrency last week. Let's do the opposite. The US government should buy a strategic reserve of Bitcoin. Call it Fort Nakamoto, the new Fort Knox. Now, Blake Masters is running for U.S. Senate to represent the state of Arizona. And so he also then talks about and takes the opportunity to plug a Senate campaign, which now accepts Bitcoin donations. Now, when you think about Blake is a very interesting person. He's got Peter Thiel, Tucker Carlson, a number of other people have already endorsed his Senate bid that he announced in July. But this idea, if you strip away the politics for a second and say, forget who said it, but look at what they're actually saying. China banned cryptocurrency last week. Let's do the opposite. Talking about the United States. The U.S. government should buy a strategic reserve of Bitcoin. Fort Nakamoto, the new Fort Knox. Now, I saw this and I actually thought it was a pretty interesting idea. So I went and the Best Business Show research team, headed by me today, went and did the math. And so here's a couple of stats that we have to just lay the groundwork. First, the 2022 fiscal budget for the United States is $6 trillion. 1% of the fiscal budget would be $60 billion. The current Bitcoin market cap is just under $800 billion, and about 60% of the circulating supply is held by those long-term holders that refuse to sell. So there's about $316 billion of available circulating supply, meaning the circulating supply of Bitcoin that isn't being held by those long-term holders, the circulating supply that is going ahead and transacting. Now, as I did this math, what I looked at was if the United States took 1% of the fiscal budget, about $60 billion, and tried to buy Bitcoin, that would be approximately 20% of that $316 billion of circulating supply. So that is unlikely to be possible because if they tried to buy $60 billion worth of Bitcoin, obviously the price would move, and also they would be tipping off plenty of market participants who would front run them, who would call it out, etc. So let's say that instead of trying to do it with 1% of the fiscal budget or $60 billion, what if we actually talked about $20 billion, about a third of that number? Now, $20 billion today could buy you approximately 465,200 Bitcoin. So almost 500,000 Bitcoin in total. And so what that would allow the United States to do is to hold more than 2% of all 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be in circulation. So 2% of the total supply of Bitcoin could be held by the United States for less than 0.5% of the annual national budget. To me, this seems like the ultimate risk-reward decision. If we spend what essentially is a rounding area, less than 0.5% of our annual budget for a one-time purchase of Bitcoin for strategic reserves, and we got about 465,000 Bitcoin, almost 500,000 Bitcoin, or approximately 2% of the total supply, we would have spent 0.5% of our national budget to become one of the largest Bitcoin holders in the world. And if it doesn't work out, if Bitcoin ends up not being worth anything in the future, it literally goes to zero and everyone laughs at every single Bitcoin holder that there ever was, we would have spent less than 0.5% of 1 year's annual budget. It's a rounding error. But if Bitcoin goes on to fulfill even part of, if not all of the promise that Bitcoin holders believe that the future holds, and Bitcoin does continue, whether it becomes a global reserve currency, whether it becomes a reserve currency of the internet, or whether it just simply becomes a global store of value that is larger than gold, the United States would be the leader from a nation state perspective. They would own more Bitcoin than any other country in the world. And so to me, this is a no-brainer. 0.5% of 1 year's national budget to own approximately 500,000 Bitcoin and to put yourself in a position where if it happens, you're the leader. If it doesn't happen, you basically bought it with depreciating dollars that you create out of thin air anyways. So we have a choice. Are we going to follow in the steps of China, the authoritarian, centrally planned country? Are we going to ban it? Are we going to be abrasive? Are we going to say we don't want to participate in this open technology? Or are we just going to simply say, you know what? Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Let's go ahead and let's just buy some. It's a strategic reserve. If we need it, it's there. But if we don't need it, that's okay too. To me, that seems like the no-brainer decision here, right?
Yeah, you can go either way with this, right? One, financially disclosure, I hold Bitcoin. I would love for them to buy it with the strategic reserves. It would increase the price. I think it would be good. It's pretty volatile asset, so having that in their strategic reserves, I think, could be an issue. But 60 billion to a country that prints trillions of dollars, I don't see it being that big of a deal.
Hey guys, bang bang. Thanks so much for watching the Best Business Show today. And don't forget to check out our partner, SoFi. They make all this possible. They're a super app that lets you save, spend, borrow, earn, and invest all from one single platform. And if you go there today and you sign up for a SoFi Invest account, you can get between $5 and $1,000 for free from SoFi. Not everyone's obviously going to get $1,000, but everyone gets something. Don't say that I never did anything for you. Go check them out at SoFi.com/pomp, download the app, and go ahead and open an account. SoFi.com/pomp, and make sure you come back and watch more of the Best Business Show. We're going to build the biggest business show in the world, and we need your help.